Okay, here's another example of a tracking in the game. You can watch the corner and the linebacker here both track the kid. Watch the breakdown, comes to the tackle. You take a bad angle at that, that kid might still be running. Here's one more example, and this is an example of, like I said, we talked about the variations and how, you know, right away those examples, it's the safety coming from a deeper distance where we look at our linemen or our linebackers, we shorten the distance and change the angles. Because this is more likely, as a spill team, this is more likely what it's going to look like for a linebacker or a lineman. So you'll watch our outside linebacker on the top. Good angle there. Yeah, he was too high, but without the angle, he never gets there, right? Watch this again, number 42 there on the bottom. And that was a big thing for me, was changing the distance, because I realized as I watch older stuff, when you got in tighter distances, our kids would loop, and they would, instead of taking a good angle at, they would start to loop and think they could chase every kid, right? Because when you're just kind of repping those type of drills, how many of your offensive guys are running full speed, right? Or like that offensive guy is pretty fast. Like you can't always replicate the speed, so the angles become more important. Okay, here's the next one. Here's our compression drill. This is our drill for how do you learn to tackle with more than one person, right? And for us, this is stage one. We just have a dummy. No big deal. We're stepping. We're leveraging through. The thing I like about the leverage tackling is since your head is on the outside and you're not trying to bite the ball, both kids' heads should be on opposite side, right? Because if you watch people that get concussions within tackling, I'm going across, this other comes in and tries to come across and ends up smoking me, and I get a concussion from the kid who hit me, not the running back. So this is our stage one of it. Our stage two, you saw we just had that dummy, that blue mat, that dummy. Our stage two is we'll take a tackling wheel and we'll roll it, right? So the kids have to compress from a different angle. So that's our stage two. And then our stage three, we offset the kids. So one kid is farther back, because that's probably more realistic what it's going to be. It's your lineman hopefully making contact and your linebacker coming up, or your linebacker making contact and your safety coming up. So they're kind of staggered. So they get used to changing their attack angle. So here's a good example of that last variation. So you're going to see our inside linebacker make contact, and then our outside linebacker is going to come up and compress from an outside. So he makes contact, and the other guy owns his side and tags it. That's the most realistic, right? How often do you have two guys actually meet the same guy at a time? You only see that if there's a major offensive breakdown. Our next circuit is crash pad. And this is kind of putting it all together, but using the pads, we allow the kids to be super aggressive. So the whole point of this is go fast and do it. Put it all together, go fast and do it. And then you'll see we have one example of a kid adding a little baby roll to it at the end. We don't teach that in the progression because the problem is kids try to roll too fast. You know, they come up and they try to roll you before they grabbed you, and then they never had you and they're just rolling on the ground. So we don't add the roll until we get to like level 2 of the crash pad. So with the crash pad again, being aggressive, putting it together. Progressions is we change the distances, we change the angles, we will add a blocker, and then you have to get off the blocker and then go make the crash pad. So just some simple things you can do. Again, everything's at an angle. You haven't seen anything heads up, right? Hitting, going straight, getting a good squeeze on it. Fast, fast, step, 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 go. Little baby roll, right? Little baby roll to the end. And again, every drill I'm showing you so far, we're not in shoulders. You can do all this stuff from day one. No one's going to get hurt in this, all right? It's all designed that way. So again, being aggressive, playing fast, trusting your feet, all right? This is a good example of our safety coming down, taking, again, a good angle, but not getting too obsessed with, like, I have to have perfect feet here. Just go get it. And the crash pad gives them the confidence to go do that. Again, I talked about pregame, getting him on the ground, making some contact. So that way he doesn't come up and he's not thinking about it. He just comes up and he tries to get that little roll. example of just come up and attack. I think this one might be better from the distance, but you'll see him just come up and attack. He's up here. Actually, I'll go back. Just come up and attack, and this one's a great example of the last stage of the crash pad, which is the drive for 5, right? Once you make contact, how do you keep your feet going? So you can see him drive through that. So what we will do then, also I talked about angles, I talked about all this stuff. We have a heavier tee dummy basically, and what we do is we move it about 3 to 4 yards away from the crash pad, and they have to hit and drive it all the way to the pad, right? That's how you get them repping their feet. The last one of our circuit is just angle, straight 2x2. We even in camp, we've actually started now where we're closer. We're super close. We're 2 yards by 2 yards. And in our pregame, that's what we do. We're 2 yards by 2 yards. We're really tight. The first couple times we do it is more about the steps. You can see they're not doing it super fast. They're just taking their good steps, near foot, near hip. And then what we do is we bring out, we change the distances again. We slightly change the angles. We add a blocker. We'll add a football down after to create a turnover as well. But the key is just getting your feet right. So the angle one is not like crash pad where it's like go hit them, be hard, go fast. This is put it all together but be clean. Your angle tackling or your 2x2 should be the cleanest tackling you have in your drill. And this one we usually have a couple coaches looking at because we want to make sure that the feet are right, the pad level's right. The shoulders are right, the hands are right, literally everything. This is your test. You got to do this perfect. So here's some just kind of examples of good angles coming through, sliding in. Watch our linebacker on top. You'll watch, he just takes good feet. It's a straight angle. Step, step, step. Good pad, a little roll. But he was a senior, so he's done the roll a couple times. Here's another example of, again, coming off a block, like I talked about with the 2x2. Head behind, good pad level, little roll at the end. Alright, that's kind of how you expect it to be. Okay. Yeah, here we go. So number 40 here on top. Off the block, good tracking, good pad level, good height, all that stuff. That's probably as close as you're going to get. Alright, so now I kind of talked about, are there any questions on the circuit and kind of how we apply the different stuff and simple ways to do variations or progressions? Okay, so I just want to show a couple clips of the example because I kind of talked about that 5 minutes you do of your indie group where you implement some tackling. So this one is an example of that squeeze and pop I talked about. So what we will do is we'll set up like an offensive guy. We'll just set up a runner, and then we have like a defensive tackler, or defensive end, or whatever. And what we will do is we just pull this kid, and we work on squeezing down and then popping up. All right, squeezing down and popping up. That's kind of how we like to. That's one of our major variations for like read option teams. You know, giving the quarterback a different look. If you see the kid just sitting there, the quarterback, it's an easy read. But if you give any type of squeeze down, the quarterback will traditionally keep it, and then that pop, it's kind of like a bait. It's a good changeup, but we do this a lot because it's especially effective against like a midline, especially if we get good hands on this kid. So again, we set up a mat, we set up a player who's just going to pull, and he just takes an angle like this. So he squeezes down and then pops. It's actually better from this angle. So if you watch our tackle right here, so you'll see a little inside read, he squeezes down and he pops. But again, this is more about steps. But are you going to do this drill with your linebackers? Are you going to do this drill with your safeties? Don't waste your time, right? They're never going to do this. But this is a perfect interior lineman drill because you can try this against a 1 or a 3 tech. A little squeeze and pop. Here's a good example of linebackers. So our 5 minutes of linebacker drills, we do a lot where we will take most of the rest of the linebackers and we'll line them up. And then these guys will all step one way, this guy will step one this way, this guy will step up, and then we read that, we hit, rip off, and then go make the tackle. Because that's realistically what a linebacker is going to see, right? Especially if it's his read key. Like, does he go down? Does he come at me? How do I do this? So you can work in some reads into this, but the key is making good contact on the block, getting off efficiently, and then finding the ball carrier and taking a good angle to it. So if you watch my linebacker right here, and this might be better from the end zone as well. So watch number 20 right here. You see there's a bunch of garbage. Comes up, meets the fullback, because that's what he's reading in this example, comes up and meets him, rips off and makes the play. And I know this seems pretty like, oh yeah, we kind of already do that, but again, like, you think about how close you are to it, like, are you going to do that with the different groups, right? So you don't add that to your circuit completely because, again, not all the positions have to do that. So invest that 5 minutes widely, put that onto your position coaches to make sure that they do that appropriately. So